Hi, my name's Radha. Today I wanted to teach you how to take your measurements. Measurements are way more accurate on telling you what's going on in your body than jumping on the scale. This is because you could be losing fat, losing muscle, gaining fat, gaining muscle. It could be bloating from eating salty foods. So when you take your measurements, you're just measuring the girth of your body. So in a case where you jump on the scale and it's exactly the same as it was last week, if you would take your measurements, they may be smaller. So the measurements are a better indicator on weight loss than the scale is, or at least fat loss. So all you need is one of these little cloth measuring tapes. These are sold in sewing kits at CVS and drugstores. I'm sure Walmart has them, I'm sure Amazon has them, but you might have one right in your house. So we're going to start with the neck measurement. So that neck, you want to take it around the widest part of your neck. Make sure your hair is not in the way. And when you're doing your measurements, I recommend measuring centimeters, not inches, so it will be more accurate. So you want to take it around the base of the neck, kind of the widest part before the traps start. Make sure it's in a straight line all the way around. And then you can either kind of lean into a mirror and look where it's touching, or I'll just pinch where it's touching and then take it down and look at it. And then you can write down the number. So that's the neck. The next one we're going to do is the chest. So the chest, you want to take it around your chest, the widest part of the chest, which is usually around the nipple line. Again, pull it snug. You don't want to pull it so tight that, snug pull, so that it actually dents in your skin. That means it's way too tight. That's not actually how big you are. So loosen it up a little. And again, make sure it's in a straight line all the way across. And then you just want to look at the measurement and write it down. The next one you'll take is your waist. So I am going to do the rest of these standing up because that's how you should do them. So standing up, we'll do the waist. You want to start with your feet together. Your body's relaxed, you're standing up tall, and take the measuring tape around the smallest part of your waist. So if you're someone that doesn't have a very narrow waist, it might be flat or you might go out a little, then measure right around the belly button, because that way it will be the same exact spot every single time. But if you have a little waist, then put it around that little indentation where it gets smaller. And then same thing, you just want to make sure it's straight all the way around, it's not going down anywhere. And then look at the number and write it down. And then you'll go down to your hips. So the hips, again, remember to stand with your feet together. Measure the widest part of the hips. So I have a pretty hourglass figure, so the wide part is easy to find, and it should also be the biggest part of your butt. So this is one to make sure that you're not pulling too tight, okay? And you just want to look, make sure it's not too tight. Try to stand up tall. Mine's actually twisted a little, and then take that measurement. So after that, we're going to go into the arms and the legs. So for the arm, you're going to measure the bicep. First by measuring the length of your arm. So you find that bony little nub at the end of your collarbone. And then you're going to measure from there to your elbow. And you're looking at basically the crease of the elbow. So for me, that's 13 inches. So I'm going to find the halfway point at 6.5 inches. And that's the point of the bicep that I'm going to measure, which I just dropped the measuring tape. So from here, line up the measuring tape with that finger spot you just found. And then I just hug my arm right to my body so the measuring tape won't fall down. Bring it up. And then just let the arm relax next to your body. And then you have your bicep measurement. And just look at it, write that down. So it's good to do the left and the right because you have a dominant side. So generally, you'll always have different measurements on your left and right. Same thing with the legs. Measure left and right because they will be different sizes. If you're trying to make this a really quick process, then just measure the same side every time. So always measure your right arm and your right leg, and that way you don't mix it up and 1 week you measure the left and then it's totally different measurements. So we're going to do the thigh first. There's 2 different methods people use for the thigh, so I'll show you both. The first one is to wrap the measuring tape around the top of the thigh, right where the crease of the fold of the butt is right there, and wrap it straight around and measure there. And then the second form of the measurement, people will kind of go from the top of the hip bone to the top of the knee and then find that midway point, and they measure the midpoint of the thigh rather than the top. I tend to measure just the top in my practice because I find it's very simple and the results are just the same. The knee, you're going to measure right above the knee around the quadricep. And same thing, just make sure you get it straight all the way around and it's snug, not tight. And then the last one you do is your calf. So with your calf, you're measuring the widest part of your calf. So just find that same point each week, and that will be your final measurement. I hope that was helpful and you can start taking your own measurements now. I recommend doing it at least once a month, but if you are trying to really lose weight and be accountable, then it would be good to do it on a weekly basis. Try to do it at the same time of day every time, and make sure you're wearing the same clothes every time, or ideally don't wear any clothes because you don't want anything, like if you're a woman, one day you're wearing a sports bra that totally compresses everything, and one day you're wearing one that has like padding and cups. So then your bust measurement's going to be totally different. So really try to make sure you're wearing the same clothes every time. And that's all I've got for you today. Next week, I'm going to show you how to do a fitness assessment at home for yourself. All right, I will see you next week.